Hi one and all. So in the previous class we discussed about reusability of workflow. More specifically, we learned different ways that is available for the RPA developer in order to reuse the existing workflow, and then we learned about commenting techniques, and then we learned about the state machines, right? So today's class objective is first we shall conclude chapter number 9 by discussing when to use flowcharts, state machines or sequences, and then we shall start chapter number 10, which is actually the last chapter according to the syllabus in this course, right? So now I will go ahead with when to use flowchart, state machine or sequences. So first we shall understand this, then we shall start chapter number 10, right? Okay, according to the author, a sequence is used when you have selected a straightforward set of instructions on how to create a workflow, or make it simple, when you don't want to make any decisions in the given task, then you can go ahead with the sequence it seems. So the bottom line is the sequence is preferred when you are recording some steps in a sequential manner. That's I mean, example is, so you will record one step, then after this you will record one more step, after this you will record one more step, and the number of steps may be less or maybe what I can say at a moderate size. In those cases you can go ahead with an sequence itself instead of flowchart or state machine. Remember, usually in a sequence there will be no branching. Like if it is yes, you go here, if it is no, go here, then again one more condition here. So usually this kind of what I can say, the structure will not be present in case of a sequence. That's what the author is telling, that when you don't want to make any decisions and if you want to record some steps in sequential manner, like one by one, as I said here, one by one here, then you can go ahead with a simple workflow by using sequence, right? I hope you understood this, right? With that we shall move ahead. So one such sequence is shown in, I mean, this is one example. See here, you have recorded the steps one by one. This is the first step, second step, next step, next step. Usually there is no branching here. Can you see here? There is no branching. So then in those cases you can go ahead with a sequence. That's what the author is telling here. Clear? Now when it comes to state machines and flowcharts, both are used for complex process systems. I mean, for a complex task, and both will work well it seems. So either you can choose a state machine for automating the complex task, or you can use flowchart to automate a complex task. It will work it seems. But there are some best practices or a good approach. That's what the author is telling here. They work in the same manner, but state machines have some advantages over flowcharts, which are listed as follows it seems. I mean, both will work for the complex task, but state machines have some advantages over flowcharts it seems. So when you are dealing with a complex task it seems, we shall see one by one which are those advantages given by the state machines over flowcharts, right? So complex transactions are much clearer with state machines it seems, as they have an inbuilt layout for the workflow, right? So we already have seen the layout for the state machine, like it will have an entry section, it will have an exit section, it will have a transaction section. That's what the author is telling here. And hence, since the state machine will have segregated the sections properly, so obviously it will be much clearer compared to the flowchart it seems, right? A much clearer advantages, it can be easily understandable by the RPA developer. That's what the author is telling here. So flowcharts do not inherently have the concept of waiting for something to happen. This is one more drawback of flowchart when you compare it with the state machine. So flowcharts do not have inbuilt of the concept called waiting for something to happen. I mean, example, a transition will not occur until a trigger completes. I mean, until action performed by the user, the transaction will not be completed like this. So that's what the author is telling here. Whereas state machines will have that feature. So that's what the author is telling here. But flowchart will not have that concept of waiting for something to happen. So once it starts to do the task, it will continue to do the task until it reaches the end. Whereas state machine, first it will do, for example, let us assume that this is one activity. First it will execute this activity, and it will immediately it won't execute the second activity unless and until a trigger will happen or an action has been performed. Once this action has been performed, then it will start executing the second step or the another activity which is followed by the previous activity, like this. That's what the author is telling here. So state machine naturally encapsulate the action group. So this is something similar to abstraction concept that you have learned in Java. So one simple example is, for example, assume that see here, this is a state machine. Okay, so let us assume this is one workflow, and this is the workflow that you are invoking to read inputs from the user. See, can you see here? Can you the hidden? The internal things. What specifically how it is reading the inputs, how many inputs it is reading from the user. All this has been hidden in this single workflow, right? So if you want to go inside or in depth of this workflow, then you have to go to this particular workflow, then you will see the internal details. Otherwise the internal details of this workflow will be done like this at a high level. So that's what the author is telling here. Naturally encapsulate. It will encapsulate or it will hide the internal details from the user. Clear? That's what the author is telling here. Okay, that completes chapter number 9, and we shall go ahead with chapter number 10, which is the last chapter of the course. So titled as deploying and maintaining the robot or bot, make it simple. So as the title says, here we will discuss on deployment and maintaining the developed robot or created bot. So more specifically in this chapter you will learn how to publish using the publish utility or the tool which is given in the UiPath Studio. Then you will learn something about Orchestration Server and how to use that server to control the bots, and how to use that server to deploy the bots, and how to manage the license for the robot that you have built. So right, clear? So in this video, just I will try to cover publishing, how we can able to publish our work or our developed robot using the publish utility, and then I will touch upon overview of Orchestration Server, right? And in the coming classes we shall discuss these three, right? Okay, I will go ahead with the first one called titled as publishing using publish utility. See, this is one tool similar to UI Explorer tool, which is I will show you, and moreover it is straightforward. If you launch UiPath Studio, then you will find an icon similar to like this, named as publish, or some in newer version you will find an arrow something like this, and publish something like this. So just you have to click on this particular what I can say tool or utility to publish your work. We shall see the steps within few seconds. Clear? So first we shall understand at a high level what is this utility and why we need to publish our work, right? So we design a workflow for some functionality, means we already have learned how to create a workflow to automate some given task. That's what the author is telling here, so that it reduces the time and the effort, right? So when the workflow is successfully completed, we cannot offer to open UiPath time and again to run our flow. This is what we were doing till now. So what we were trying to do, we were trying to create a workflow or a robot, for example, to write something to the notepad, right? And if you want to repeat the same task by the robot, what we were doing, we were doing the UiPath, we were opening the UiPath Studio again, and we are going to the project that we created, which was automating this particular task, and we were clicking on run. We were clicking on the run button in UiPath Studio. Then it was doing writing a text to the notepad activity, right? That's what till now we were doing, right? But now if you want to avoid this, So to use a workflow directly from the robot itself, instead of opening the UiPath Studio by manually by yourself and running the robot, we shall automate that task also. That's what the publishing means. So to use a workflow directly from the UiPath robot, you have to publish your workflow first and then schedule it through the orchestrator, which is nothing but a server. See, make it simple. The bottom line is, so the workflow that you have created to automate the given task, let us say T, so you have to put that or publish that to the server, and you have to schedule it. I mean, when it has to start doing the job. That's what the author is telling here. That's what publishing means. So first you put publish means deploy or put that to the server. I mean, put inside the server and then do configuration. One of the example for configuration is schedule it. Then depending on the configuration, then the server will take care of that. I mean, server is, you can treat this server as a robot itself. This robot will take care of when to alert this robot, and once it alerts, the robot will do the task and it will send the status back to the server. This is how it will work. Clear? As soon as our workflow is published, we can directly run our workflow using UiPath robot from orchestrator. I mean, nothing but server. Clear? So we shall see in depth now how to publish our workflow or robot, make it simple, in UiPath Studio. So there are some steps that you need to follow, and these steps are straightforward. So first step is you need to open the UiPath Studio, it seems, and create a new project or a workflow, right? And after that you will find, as I said, publish in the setup ribbon, okay, and click on publish button, and now check whether the project has been published successfully or not. I will tell you how to do this. So this is the window. This is the window that you have to get. Suppose if your work has been published successfully, so that's what the author is telling, that this dialog box has to appear if the project that you have published has been published successfully. Right, now we shall see. So this is the information, this piece of information that you will get from the UiPath Studio once your robot has been published successfully. We shall see one by one what are this piece of information, right? So first information that you will get in the dialog box is URL of the orchestrator, it seems. I mean, you will find the location where actually your project has been deployed or published. Clear? This is the URL. Under this address or URL, your project has been published. Second, the name of the package that has been published. So the name given for your published project, package name called TD2, and the version information. That's what the author is telling here. So the version of the package, right? Correct now? So this three piece of information that you will get from the orchestrator when you publish the project to the orchestrator. Clear? Okay, and one more information that you have to be aware is, when you already have seen this, when you create a new project in UiPath Studio, by default it will store in this particular path, right? However, we already have learned to change that directory also. Correct. So but one important piece of information that you should know is, when you create a new project, a folder will be created with the project name, and inside that project it will contain these types of files. Like it will have screenshot folder, and it will have a XAML file. You already have aware of this XAML file, correct? And there will be one more important file called JSON file, and this JSON file will be created for each XAML file that you have created in your project. Clear? So usually this JSON file is used for configuration file, or you can treat this as an heart of this XAML file. I will tell you why it is called a heart of this XAML file. Clear? Okay. So we shall go ahead with that. When we publish the package to the orchestrator server, then it automatically reaches server and can be viewed on the packages page. So when you go to the orchestrator, but orchestrator will not be available in the community edition, hence I can't show you this practically. But anyhow, there is a screenshot here. You can go ahead with this screenshot to know how actually the UI will be there in the orchestrator. Clear? So when you go to the packages page in the orchestrator, you will find the package that you have published in the orchestrator server. That's what the author is telling. If you don't find that package in the packages, then there is another way to do this manually. So that's what the author is telling here. So the steps that you need to follow to upload the package manually to the Orchestration server is this. There is an option called upload package. Click on that. Then it will give an option called browse, and you need to use that option to navigate to the location where you have published your work, and then you need to click on upload. Then once it uploads, then you check again in the packages page, and you need to find that package. That's what the author is telling here. Now we shall see, as I said, we shall see about JSON file. So now we shall see how to write or edit the published package info into the JSON file. I said this is like a configuration file or a heart of XAML file. So you will understand in few seconds now. So the JSON file can be found inside the project, as I said. So whenever you create a project, so remember, a screenshot folder will be created, XAML file will be created, JSON file will also be created. So that's what the author is telling here. It will be found inside the project folder. To edit the JSON file in the project, you have to follow these steps. So go to the project directory and just open the JSON file using any editor, either using Notepad or Notepad++, okay, any editor for that matter, or TextPad also it will work. And now edit the main parameter of the automation project that you want to execute when the orchestrator starts. Then now there will be many parameters will be there in the JSON file. We shall see which are those parameters. See here, name of the project description, XAML file name, and the dependencies, the libraries that your project is referring or using. Now see here, it is using the core library. Your XAML file or your project, blank project, it is using the core library, and it will also include which tool it has used to create this project and its version, project version, packages options, runtime options, whether it has to be paused or not, everything. See, these are few parameters. Don't think that this is the complete set of the parameters which that will be present in the JSON file. This is only few parameters. That's what the author is telling here. Now you can tune the parameter either runtime options or package options or project version or tool version or this password or private or the dependencies, right, or the name version, like this. Depending on the requirement, you can tune this any one of these parameters or all the parameters, and then that's what the author is telling here. That's what the use of the JSON file, right? And that updated configuration will be referred by the orchestrator. Now save the JSON file, go to the orchestrator process page and click on the packages button, right? And that information will be used by the orchestrator server in order to execute the robot. Clear? Now I will touch upon just orchestration server, and then we shall wind up this today's class session, right? So UiPath Orchestrator is a web server that provides you with an environment for maintaining and scheduling your robots. See, as I said, Orchestration Server is basically a web server. It's basically a web server which will have the robots. You can at an high level you can imagine like this. So it will provides an environment to put the robots or to place the robots in the server, right, like this. Orchestrator is highly accessible web server platform for fast deployment from one robot to many robots. As I said, I will try to use community edition because as per my knowledge, in the community edition we can able to deploy one robot. I will check in the new version of UiPath Studio. If it is present, then I will demonstrate that. Otherwise I can't able to demonstrate that, but anyhow I'm explaining what is actually orchestrator and the job of orchestrator. Still, if you have doubt with respect to orchestrator, you can contact me. Clear? So usually since it is a web server, you can place one robot or you can deploy many robots, it seems. Okay, in automation in autonomous automation techniques, one robot can automate another robot. So you can do this. This means a robot can manage all the activities of another robot, like process, scheduling on. So instead of you taking care of scheduling and its process, then you can hand over that responsibility to another robot, it seems, which will do the task on behalf of you. Even that is also possible, it seems. Okay, and there are two types of robots that you can able to deal with. We already are aware of this. One is front office robot and the other one is back office robot. So we already have learned this. Once again, I won't repeat this. So make it simple. Front office robot, it's also called as an assistant robot, which requires user inputs or user inputs or user help in order to complete the task. Whereas back office robot will work independent of the user input. Clear? So that's what I mean at a high level you should remember. And we already have learned about in depth about difference between front office robot and back office robot. Once again, no problem, I will go ahead with the points that the author has been mentioned here. Front office robots acts as helping hand to its user. Obviously, these are the robots that require user interactions. As I said, a front office robot is an agent assistant, which means the user is required to interact. Obviously, I told you this. And for example, the robot requires the user input to provide credentials or display some messages or dialogue to which the user is required to respond. Otherwise, the process will not work. Will not work means it will not continue. We already have seen an example for this also, right? And some business processes are required to be performed by the trigger activity, in which once a task is triggered, the robot is capable of running automation process behind the lock screen. So the scenario which will requires user input to do the task, then you can go ahead with an assistant robot. Otherwise, you can go ahead with an back office robot. Back office robots can log into Windows session and run the automated process in unattended mode. I mean, without user intervention, it can able to automate the task. That's what the meaning is. They can be started with the help of orchestrator. Yeah, either you can start it or you give responsibility to the server. The server will start that. We can schedule these robots or we can also run them manually using UiPath robot or UiPath Studio. That's what I said. Clear? Clear? So next I will go ahead with the logical components of the server in the next class, which you already have learned this in the even in the previous class at a high level. Clear? So this is, I mean, this time now I will conclude the session. So today, I mean, in this video, just we discussed the last concept of chapter 9, which helps us to choose when to go for the sequence, when to go for flowchart, and when to go for state machines. And we learned some differences also between sequence, flowchart and state machine. And then we started chapter number 10 and we covered how we can able to publish our work to the Orchestration Server. And then we learned something about Orchestration Server and the types of robots that we can able to deploy to the or publish to the Orchestration Server. That is nothing but front office robot and back office robot, right? So as I said, I will try to practically demonstrate the Orchestrator concept through UiPath Studio. I will check whether the current version has the capability to use Orchestration Server to deploy at least one robot. If it is there, then I will practically demonstrate this. Otherwise, no problem. Just follow the screenshots that is there in the PPT. Obviously, the same interface will be given by the Orchestration Server to do the task. Clear? So with this, I will end the session. So we shall meet in the next session. So thank you one and all.